Mr. Donck, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. President, dear colleagues, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here today in this wonderful city of Ljubljana. I already experienced the well-known Slovenian hospitality yesterday evening until quite late. You can hear that from my voice, but I survived the many beers. My name is Frédéric Donck. As the speaker kindly introduced me, I'm the director of the Regional Bureau of the Internet Society. We're based in Brussels, and we support the activities of the Internet Society pretty well in Europe. We're being helped by many chapters. I'm happy to say that among our 33 chapters in Europe, we have a chapter of the Internet Society here. This year is an important year for us. We celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Internet Society, 25 years. It's a beautiful age. In Internet age, it's even bigger. I mean, we used to say that this is like dog age. You need to multiply by 7. And we've done a lot of different activities to celebrate this. We have organized a Hall of Fame in Los Angeles with new inductees. We had notes around the world celebrating this with us. But we also produce a report on the future of the Internet. And I'd like to drive you through this. Even though, as you know, talking about the future of the Internet is dangerous. I have this quote in mind that it's difficult to make a prediction, especially for the future. And as you know, many people already made predictions in the past about what would happen, so the Internet never forgets anything, so I will be very careful here. I remember some quotes saying there's no reason anyone would want a computer in their home. It was Ken Holson in 1977, or there is no slightest indication that nuclear energy will ever be obtainable, and it was Albert Einstein in 32. So we should be extremely careful, because we always, when it's about prediction, and especially about the Internet, we always take what we know. And the Internet evolved in such a rapid way because of the society, because of the technology, because of the economy. Who might ever have predicted the role of social media those times? Yet, we decide in the Internet Society to look to the future. And to do that, we have asked more than 3,000 people in our community and outside our community to share their thoughts with us. And we translate that, I will come back to this in a few seconds, we translate that into drivers, what we felt were important drivers that might impact the Internet as we know it. Those drivers, the drivers of change, are the Internet in the physical world. They are something that the Internet now is very close to our day-to-day life, including in the physical world. Of course, this is the Internet of Things. Artificial intelligence is another driver, cyber threats, the Internet economy, interoperability, and then the role of governments that will definitely influence the way the Internet is evolving. And we thought that those drivers, we will also put that in relations to the impact, in which would be the area of impact. And from our perspective, that will be firstly personal freedom and rights, media and society, and the digital divide. Now, whenever we talk about the future of the Internet, we should agree on what we have now. What is the Internet? There are so many definitions. I have a definition from the IETF. You know that we are home to the IETF, which is the global standardization body for the Internet at worldwide level. We have some technical definition. We have many different definitions of the Internet. So let's agree on the principles that for us make the Internet. We call that the environs. This is the DNA of the Internet. So what the Internet is firstly shared global ownership. There is no one who owns the Internet. We all own the Internet. There is no central control. The Internet is based on open technical standards. There are collaborative models of engagement. There are transparent collaborative models. And at the end, the Internet is being a decentralized tool. So if I would summarize what the Internet is from the user perspective, I would say that the Internet is a user-centric network, that the Internet is open, and there is a very strong principle that we call permissionless innovation. Nobody has to ask permission to launch a new service on the internet, and it makes it success. So I talk about our report and how we see the drivers for the futures. I won't go through every point. I would invite you, this is a teaser, to go on our website, isoc.org, and check this future report. I'd like to talk very quickly about the biggest threats that we face and that the internet face in the next coming years. And when thinking of this, I thought, well, what kind of bigger threats do we have? I see two major threats. The first one is that the internet no longer is global, that we build walls. We call that fragmentation in our vocabulary. Fragmentations are different legislation or regulations that might, for example, impose data localization. You heard about that. That is a country that is saying, from now on, all the data of my citizens should remain into my boundaries, into my zone. It's also when governments, and from a technical perspective, we find that really threatening. It's when governments believe that they need to address political issues through the technical way. You heard about those quotes from some presidents on some government, for example, Dilma Rousseff, after the Snowden revelations, who said, our national internet traffic should no longer cross the USA. Well, I'm afraid the biggest IXP in Latin America happens to be in Miami. So whatever you do, you will have the internet from Brazil crossing the US borders, because the internet does no politics. But also here in Europe, you might remember some quote from President Merkel, who said, we need to build a European Schengen internet. I don't know what it means. Again, the internet has no borders, and what it is that a Schengen internet. So that is the biggest threat from a regulatory or legislative perspective. But honestly, fragmentation might also come from our own usage of the internet. The way we support social media for the time being, the way we support what we call in our jargon, wallet guardians. We are using different platforms who are closed wallet guardians. You name them, from Facebook to MySpace to Flickr to Twitter. Those are platforms that we use, and that's very convenient, but we should be aware that those are wallet guardians. So when you are in it, you can hardly communicate outside of it. So we're also building through our usage the way the internet will evolve. The beautiful world of apps. I mean, we all find very convenient to use the different apps, but again, you're using some very part of the internet. This is not how it has been built. So let's be aware of this. The second big threats to me are all those privacy or trust hostile regulation. Let me name them. This is mass surveillance. This is censorship, network neutrality or platform neutrality issues. I know we might address those issues today. Security. We made, together with Ipsos, a survey last year, a global survey on internet security and trust. And we realized that 1 among 2 persons were very concerned about security and about their usage of the internet. There is no day without us taking the news and learning that there was a data breach somewhere in the world, even yesterday. So let's be extremely careful here, because the repercussions of people losing trust in the internet are enormous. Their behavior might change. And those repercussions are due to, of course, regulation for governments, but also some non-behavior from privacy, from private entities. So let me give you an example. After the Snowden revelations, there were a lot of people in the US who just started behaving differently. They didn't dare to use the internet the way they used it before. For example, they would not even dare to Google anything in relation to Islam or everything in relation to diet, because they just fear that if they start Googling something about their diet, their insurance would know it and they will increase their rates at the end of the day. So that is a very, very dangerous stuff. I mentioned the fact that the internet and our physical world get closer together. that is the Internet of Things. I mean, we hear extraordinary figures about how many billions of devices will slowly but surely invade our life in the next coming years. I've seen figures going from 20 billions by 2020 to 100 million devices all over the place, in our cities, in our home, even on our wearables. There are incredible examples right now. I mean, Windsurf loved the example of this bath in Japan. When you tap on it, it just measures your level of sugar in your blood and your weight and your volume and everything. Now, if your bath is connected to your fridge, you might, at the end of the day, find your fridge closed with a message saying, you better run than eat. But you know, we will collect lots of different data with insignificant device, but all those data together might say a lot about you. And the fact is, we have a lot of sensors around us that we might not even know they're taking our data. And let's remember something very important, that everything you put on the internet become part of the internet. And that is very threatening, because those are all vulnerabilities to the internet as we know it. So privacy issues with the Internet of Things are really very tough issues. I spoke about the combined data that your toothbrush, your refrigerator, plus your fitness tracking can say about you. But there are also other issues and awareness of users about, for example, this TV screen. That is a well-known case where people were buying TV screens, clapping in their hands, and they were able to ask for a channel to open. Before that, people didn't realize that all those data were collected somewhere, including where they were not clapping in their hands, so any argument they would have with their family would be taped somewhere in the world by the TV in their room. So this is also a question of awareness. We need to take that very seriously. We need to continue to think about consent from users. I know in some cases it might just be difficult to consent when you are in a car and you don't know that the GPS is tracking you, or that you come close to a shop and you didn't realize that your watch is connecting to the Wi-Fi of this shop and you've been tracked somewhere. But we need to think about that very seriously, and this is what we believe at the Internet Society, that whatever the challenges are, we should still think in terms of invariance of the Internet. What is the DNA of the Internet, and how can we continue think about the future Internet with this in mind? I thought that I spoke about our report of the future of the Internet. Let me give you some hints and some of the conclusions of this report before I stop speaking. One of the conclusions first is that human value must drive technical development. We must have conversation about the technical development. We must be sure that we are in agreement with our human value whenever it's about technical development. We also realize that there will be a technical divide. There will be a security divide that is emerging in the world. There will be people who are aware and know how to protect themselves. And then the next divide will be just about security, because there will be people left off the road of security. That is very concerning. We know that artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things will change in a drastic way the way that we will behave online, and that what the impact of it will be on our life. But we also, at the same time, need to recall that users need to remain in control of their data. And I hope that we will address this today as well. And the last one is that the governments are not equipped to answer and face those challenges on their own. That is a conclusion that came very clearly from our survey with a lot of different governments, private sector, and the technical community. Government on their own are not equipped to face all those many challenges. And this is why we need to have those conversations those days, as we have today. I would like also to recall that we will have here in Ljubljana, hopefully, next year, CIDIC, or regional IGF, taking place. That is also a place when we have so many different stakeholders talking together, governments, private entity, the technical community, and civil society. And those are places that remain extremely important in those moments of very rapid development of the internet. Thank you for your attention, and I wish us a very good day today. Thank you very much.